Hello and welcome to the course Global Supply Chain. It's a pleasure to have you all here, especially to able teach this course in this interesting times due to pandemic. I think we should focus on the positive effects this pandemic has on teaching. Perhaps one good thing is that you don't have to get up that early to reach to Seneca campus and listen to offline lectures. The idea of this course is that we have pre-recorded sessions which are released every week on Monday. So feel free whenever you wake up that you start your computer and listen, try to understand what we are trying to teach this course. You might also have recognized already that the scheduling has been done for this course. So we have scheduled for each week a Q&A session. So this is the communication platform where you can ask questions based on the setup, based on content-related questions. So please use those platforms. Of course, it's not mandatory, but feel free come to this day session and get rid of some unclear things which are during the course. So I'm not doing the course alone. So we have 6 teaching assistants who help you out during the first block. So I would like to introduce Carline, Mohammed, Nathan, Shay, Riyesh. Those 6 teaching assistants have different tasks, and you will hopefully be able to meet all of them in our offline sessions held in the old library in downtown. We have the possibility that we meet in person and that we are not only dependent on the online recorded sessions. Then of course, it's also a pleasure to introduce Jeroen Vos, who is our second lecturer this course, who is doing the second part of this course. So the last 3 lectures are given by Jeroen. So I'm looking forward seeing his presentations, and I think it's a good idea if Jeroen is introduced when he gives his lectures in 4 weeks. So my name is Alexander Hübel. As you may have recognized, my accent is Austrian, but I do hope that it is not a problem, especially here in the Netherlands when the movies are played or subtitled or titled in English. So you also are used to Arnold Schwarzenegger and his strange Austrian accent. So I hope we won't have any problems, that you understand what I'm talking. So more on my background, I do some research, I'm teaching. The research is more or less focusing on uncertainty. So I would like to generate models predicting future states of supply chain behavior or production planning behavior. That's the reason why I'm interested in information uncertainty, stochastic modeling, and of course, simulation in the field of supply chain management. In teaching, I'm giving courses about production planning, inventory management, as you recognize, about global supply chain, simulation. There I'm mainly focusing on discrete event simulation and agent-based simulation. But there is an idea to develop a course for hybrid modeling. And finally, I am also supervising some theses in the bachelor and the master program of IEM, and as well some theses are supervised from Austrian students. If you would like to get in contact, then please use the course email address gsc-iem@bruch.nl. Whenever you need an appointment, of course, this appointment has to be online in these days, then please as well this address. So then let's have a look on the goals of the lecture. So we have defined 4 goals. First goal is to apply supply chain analysis in terms of strategy, scope, drivers, and metrics. So we will have a brief introduction, what is a supply chain, then discuss supply chains analysis on different hierarchical levels from long-term, short-term, so different strategy available. We will teach you something about metrics to measure performance within supply chain management. Second goal is to design supply chain network based on quantitative data, including the implementation, with subparts including planning and coordination, including planning and management inventories, design and plan transportation networks. So we will have gamification parts in our lecture. So on the one hand, we are going to play the famous beer game, and on the other hand, we are going to run a business game focusing on planning methods such as E. Then third goal is apply basic of operation and line balancing simulation. So today I will introduce how to use the methodology discrete event simulation for testing supply chain concepts. And the final part or goal is discuss and apply basic level academic and thinking. So we have 2 streams. On the one hand, there is a part where you are required to read by your own and try to understand chapters of the book. And the other part is, as we do it today, supported part, recorded lectures are available that have to combine both parts, the self-learning part and the guided part. And final goal, so to speak, in this is that you should be able to produce academic qualified texts. That means, on the one hand, we are examining an essay, and on the other hand, get in the last week final assessment. So you have at least from Monday to Friday time to solve this problem, write a report, and the report is graded by us. So then, of course, we're going to provide you with teaching supplements. On the one hand, we provide a document such as the slides, the PowerPoint slides, or Google Slides, and the recorded presentation. You already recognize that. And of course, there are some specifications for example exercises and instruction tutorials, like how to generate an XY chart in Excel. And we have the gamification part where we play the famous beer game and a planning game on MRP. So those 2 games will take part the old library in downtown. So this is part of the offline teaching. And then we have 2 books where this lecture discourse is based on. On the one hand, the Job Mindel book from 2016, Supply Chain Management, Strategy, Planning, and Operation. So this is also the basis for the TBL, team-based learning sessions. and the self-study session. So you're requested to read the chapters 1 to 5, 10 to 14, and the sustainable chapter 17. And then the second book which is requested for this course is Hobsbawm Factory Physics in 2008. This is mainly due to the fact that this is the Bible for hierarchical planning. Therefore, you will find a good description of itself. And then there is additional literature where I will upload this for the relevant chapter of law, simulation, modeling, and analysis, that you can also have a deeper look on how simulate production situations. So, and this is the final schedule for our course. So now we are in week 36, where we give, or I give, the introduction about the course, and then also introduction about supply chain management. Next week we discuss, or I'm going to introduce MRP, and there we will also have already our first team-based learning session where the chapters 1 to 5 of chapter Mindel are due. So you have to make sure that you have read those chapters when the first TBL takes place. In the third week, I'm going to introduce basic design models. Then the following week, have to the laser pointer. We will have the midterm test exam. So this test exam is not part of your final grade, but you get feedback, or we provide final solutions so that you can see your calculations are done correctly. And please keep in mind there is a connection between the course Global Supply Chain and PMS, because in our course Global Supply Chain, I'm going to introduce the MRP algorithm itself, and in the course PMS you're going to implement the MRP algorithm in programming language. This week we have also the first gamification part, where we are going to play. Then Jeroen Vos takes over. He starts part planning and coordination, followed by inventory and transportation. There is also the second TBL due, so you have to make sure that you have read the chapters 1 to 5 and 10 to 14 and the sustainable chapter 17 of chapter. And then you have the last content session on sustainable supply chain given by Jeroen. Then we have the last gamification part, the famous. In week 44, on the one hand, the essay is due, which is basically done for assessing your language skills and scientific writing in the field of supply chain management. And we are going to introduce in week 44 on Monday final assignment. So you get the outline of this final assignment, what you have to do, and you have to submit it on last working day, Friday. So I think this slide is the most important slide for you, the assessment. So the good news is there is no final exam. As I announced on the previous slide, there is a midterm test exam, which is not part of the grade, but you get feedback if you have understood the algorithm we are going to present, because you have to understand, on the one hand, the algorithm for the final assignment to be able to deliver the final assignment, and on the other hand, to be able to generate the MRP coding for. So, but let's get started with the first item, which is the individual score on the 2 TBL sessions. Yeah, so for the TBL sessions, there is a multiple choice, individual choice session in the beginning. Then you are assigned to groups. Then you solve the questions in the group setting. So we have an individual setting and a group setting. For that, you're requested to use ATME, evaluate the group performance, your performance group. So the total grade for is 40% worth. You have to make sure that you have average of greater than 5.5. If you fail here, there is no repair or resit possible. Then the second item of the assessment is the essay, which includes the IEM language policy. So you're requested to deliver a essay of around 500 words. It's 20%. You should have greater than 5.5. If this is not reached, then there is a resit in 1B possible. This or the appointment for the essay will take offline at campus, so you sit in front of the computer and write essay. Then we have already discussed the midterm test exam, which is not part of the grade, but you can get important feedback if you have understood the concepts correctly. And finally, you have to deliver the final assignment. So you have to deliver a report consisting about 7 to 8 content pages and counts for your grade 40%. So there is a repair possible, but only if the other submarks greater than 5.5. So this is the structure, the procedure of our global supply chain course. You can see we have on the left-hand box, the self-study sessions where you requested to read the chapters of the Chopra Mindel book 1 to 5 and 10 to 14 and the sustainable chapter 17. So this has to be managed by you alone. You get support by the team-based learning sessions, but you have make sure that you have read and try to understand the chapters before the corresponding TBL session started. And on the other hand, you have the guided session, the recorded lectures, the provided material on the Nestor pages, the mid-term test exam, which is not part of the grade, but there you get feedback if you have understood the concepts correctly. Especially this is important for the connection with the other course PMS. And then the gamification part where the beer game and the business game for the planning method MRP takes place. And the final assignment and the essay combines both worlds. So you have to make sure that you have performed well in the self-study sessions and the guided sessions to be able to finalize the final assignment and to write essay. I know the introduction is unfortunately very fast because you're not able to interrupt me and ask questions during my presentation. But if there are questions remaining, please ask the questions at the first Q&A session or write to the email. address. So now I would like to start with the introduction to global supply chain.